slides after you come back. Okay. Let me stand up. I'll try my level best to be audible enough so that you can hear us. Good afternoon, delegation from Denmark. Good afternoon. Yeah. Good afternoon, South African delegation. Hi. Yeah. The program has been flighted on our screen. So everyone has got the paper in front of him or her. But if you don't, you can meanwhile watch at the TV over there. Now, what I'm going to do is to give over to my co-chairperson, who is the chairperson of Forestry and Fisheries chairperson. She is the one who's going to welcome all of us so that we can be able to feel free and introduce ourselves to the delegation and to South Africa. Thanks ever so much. Otherwise, the meeting is officially opened. Thank you very much. Over to you, Honorable Ngabisa Gancho.
Thank you, Honorable Mvana. And good afternoon to members of parliament from Denmark and also members of parliament from South Africa. My name is Ngabisa Gancho. As my co-chairperson has already said, I am the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. Honorable members, Denmark and South Africa are committed to address climate change and transitioning to a low carbon economy. Both countries have ambitious climate goals and are actively working to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote sustainable development. Denmark's long-term goals are to shift the entire energy system to renewable energy by 2035 and to phase out oil, gas, and coal entirely by 2050. South Africa's plans to reach carbon neutrality by 2050 when there is an energy mix. Denmark has strongly supported South Africa's climate action efforts, providing technical assistance and financial support for various initiatives. This cooperation includes the development of the wind altars for South Africa, the introduction of small meters in public buildings, and building capacity for the Department of Energy. South Africa sees Denmark as a partner in achieving the country's national determined contribution in line with Paris Agreement. Therefore, there is a considerable cooperation scope in research and development for low carbon technologies, carbonization, local development, and addressing energy poverty among lower income households. With those few words, honorable members, let me welcome all of you, members, and also the officials that are in the meeting. Hopefully, we will have a fruitful and significant engagement. Thank you very much. You are all welcomed.
Thank you, Honorable Gancho. Now, what we need to do is the introduction of ourselves. As South Africans, we are not going to introduce themselves, they are going to introduce themselves. Now, from your side, it will depend on you whether you want to introduce yourself or your leader of the delegation is going to introduce yourselves. But let's start with the South Africans, the way that they are the hosts, so they must start in everything. I will start here from Honorable Ronald. can you just stand up and introduce yourself, just to give that courtesy and respect to them?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm Honorable Ronalda Nalumango, and welcome once again to the Danish delegation. I'm from the Portfolio Committee of Fisheries, Forestries, and the Environment. And I'm just happy to be here, having this engagement with you, stemming from our last year engagement when we've met with you. As the Chair said, you are more than welcome, and we hope for fruitful engagements. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Fasiha Hassan. I'm a member of the Electricity and Energy Portfolio Committee, and I'm also part of a cohort of young people who have been recently elected to Parliament. Thank you.
Serving on the Electricity and Energy Portfolio Committee, amongst others, one of the three that I serve on, representing the African Christian Democratic Party. Welcome, sawubona, good afternoon, and enjoy your stay in South Africa.
Good afternoon. My name is Crown Prince. I think in Denmark they say Kronen. Adil Chabeleng. Oh yes. Thank you. My name is Adil Chabeleng, Crown Prince Adil Chabeleng. I'm with the Umkhonto Wesizwe MK Party, and we sit on the Committee of Electricity and Energy, as well as the Committee of Minerals and Petroleum Resources. Thank you.
My name is Sipombacha. Good afternoon. I represent Umkhonto Wesizwe. I sit in the Electricity and Energy Portfolio Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Vusi Nkosi. I'm from the Electricity and Energy Portfolio Committee from the African National Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masasego Mofokeng, representing ANC, and I'm also serving on Electricity and Energy Portfolio Committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairpersons. I'm Dr. Lillian Managa. I'm serving in the Portfolio Committee on Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. I'm deployed in this chamber by the Economic Freedom Fighters. Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, and good afternoon to our Norwegian counterparts, and welcome to South Africa. My name is Nazir Paulsen. I'm a member for the Portfolio Committee for Electricity and Energy, and also an alternate member of the Portfolio Committee for Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, and I represent the Economic Freedom Fighters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. My name is Juliet Kumalo. I'm the member of the Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Committee. I'm deployed by the African National Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Joint Chairs. Good afternoon. My name is Wilrie Peach. I'm a member of the Democratic Alliance, and I'm representing South Africa on the environment, forestries and fisheries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew de Block, also with the Democratic Alliance and also on the Forestry, Fisheries and Environment portfolio.
Thank you, Chairpersons. Very warm welcome to our colleagues across the room. And I don't mean that physically. I know it's very warm in the room, but nevertheless. My name is Edwin Bapty. I'm a member of the Democratic Alliance, and I'm on the Electricity and Energy Portfolio Committee.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Milam. I am from the Democratic Alliance, and I serve on the Energy and Electricity Committee. As my colleague has said, a warm welcome to our Danish friends. I have had several interactions with Denmark in the past. I was there doing a tour on energy in 2019, and then I met a delegation from Denmark, I think it was in 2022. So welcome to South Africa.
Thank you, Chairpersons. Good afternoon. My name is Honorable Siyabonga Mkhize. I'm deployed from Umkhonto weSizwe Party to Forest, Fisheries and Environment. I would love to say, hey.
Thank you, Chairs. Greetings to everyone. My name is Albert Sepotemba, a member from Umkhonto weSizwe, serving on a Portfolio Committee of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. I thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I'm just going to say, this is our backup staff, secretary, researcher, njalo, 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 etc. Now, because of the time, I would love to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. It's not gonna be easy to remember all of you, but what assists us is the name tags that are in front of you. So don't hesitate and don't worry if we have just forgotten within 30 minutes time forgetting your names. Who's the leader of the delegation and how do you think you can introduce yourself? Well, you are welcome on doing that. Thank you. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is
Hi.
Hello, my name is Rasmus Langhoff. I'm chairperson of the Danish delegation and also the Commission on Climate, Energy and Utilities in Denmark, and member from the Social Democratic Party, which is part of a majority government in Denmark. I will let my colleagues from different parties in the Danish parliament, there are some from the center government party and also some from the left and the right oppositions. So all voices from the Danish parliament are here today with you. I'll let them introduce themselves shortly and then we can debate, but it's a great honor to be here together with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You are allowed. Where do we start? Okay. Thank you.
Back corner, apparently. Thank you very much for hosting us. And my name is Stefan Froland. I'm a member of the Danish Parliament for a party called Liberal Alliance. I'm the spokesperson for my party on energy and climate issues, and also serve on the Committee on Energy and Climate in Denmark. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Such a pleasure being here, and thank you, Madam Chairs. It was really nice just to be introduced the way we are. My name is Mette Reismann, and I'm member of Parliament for the Social Democratic Party. And as the chairperson just explained, we are part of the Danish government, along with two other parties. I am the spokesperson on trade, business, and entrepreneurships. And I'm also a member of this committee for climate, utility, and energy. And thank you, it's such a pleasure being here.
Thank you all. My name is Dina Råbjerg, and I'm from the Conservative People's Party. And we are in opposition to the government. And I am the spokesperson on energy, utility, and rural development. Thank you.
Thank you for your warm hospitality. My name is Lea Wermelin. I'm a member of the committee and a member of Parliament for the Social Democratic Party. I've been a spokesperson on climate, energy and utilities for a couple of years, and I've also served as former Minister of Environment in the previous government. It's my first time here in South Africa, and I really enjoy that you are bringing all of the warmth for us because we're coming from a very cold temperature, so we're just really having a good time. Thank you.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Leila Stockmar, also a member of the parliament from the leftist party called Red Green Alliance. We are a socialist party. And I'm the spokesperson on climate, energy, environment and transportation. And I look very much forward to learning more about energy policy here in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, honorable colleagues from South Africa. I am Mads Fuglede, Member of Parliament. I'm part of the opposition, a party called the Danish Democrats, which is a center-right party. I'm our party's spokesperson on energy-related issues, and I'm also a member of this committee.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Kim Valentin. It's great to be back here. It's my second time in South Africa, and as I remember it is very beautiful. So I'm the chairman of a working group between the European Parliament, the Danish Climate Committee, and the EU Committee in Denmark, and we're working on EU policy, more directly on energy efficiency.
I can maybe just introduce myself as well. I'm Elisabeth Søndergaard Krone, and I'm the ambassador of Denmark to South Africa, and I'm bringing with me a few staff from the embassy, and we also have a few staff from the Danish Parliament with us to facilitate the dialogue, but we're not the important ones today. Thank you.
You are important. Thank you very much for bringing back the delegation. We were together, was it October? Yes, October last year, we met them and we promised to be with them when they arrive. We are really happy about that. Much as we are rushing for time, and also we know that your program is full up, so you don't have time. Even ourselves, we don't even have more time, but we are enjoying to be together. You know, this exercise of introducing each and everyone by himself or herself, it also assists to make her feel free and feel that she or he is welcomed. So it assists. Now, I'm going to give over to the chairperson of Fisheries and Forest, because what I will do is the presentation right now, and it's gonna be short and brief and to the point, so that I can give herself a time also to present her story. Thank you very much. Over to you, co-chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mvana. As I am now taking over the chairing part, I would like to introduce a member that has joined us. She had apologized earlier. She went to the doctor. She arrived. Honorable Thandi Makasi, can you stand up? We have already introduced ourselves. She is the member of the Portfolio Committee for Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. I wanted to introduce her before Honorable Mvana take the stage. Honorable Mvana, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. What is gonna be easy for you, we will flight the presentation, and more details, if you want, will be emailed to you, because we cannot go into the depth and the nitty-gritties of everything with this short space of time. But I will try to just highlight few things. Can I be allowed to sit down? Okay. Secretary, you can flight the presentation. I'm not going to do the introduction, but I will go straight to the mandate of the South African Parliament. It is as follows. It is based on the provision of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996. And Establishment Parliament is setting out the function it performs. The parliamentary's role and outcome are to represent the people and ensure government by the people under the Constitution. Such representation is put into operation by means of public representatives who represent the will of the people in the processes of passing legislation, overseeing executive action, and the facilitation of public involvement, cooperative government, and international engagement, as we are seated here doing exactly that international engagement. There are rules of Parliament provides to portfolio committees too. One is to process legislation introduced by the responding minister or referred to it by resolution of the House, and where necessary, initiate legislation. 2, it oversees the work of the corresponding department and associated institution. In our case as electricity, we will also oversee the department in electricity and energy, as my co-chairperson will also be responsible to oversee the Forestry and Fisheries Committee. We also make policies recommendations in the portfolio area on the basis of wider public consultation where necessary. Sometimes we take the public hearings, go to people, explain to them about the laws and legislation that we're passing. Engage the executive with respect to related international matters. Even now, in the parliament, we're going to report that we had a visit from Denmark parliamentarians, and we will put forward what is it exactly that we were sharing with, and also what is it that we are coming up with to South Africa. In terms of the section 572 of the Constitution with regard to the powers of committees, the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy exercises oversight over the Department of Electricity, and as I've said, and we've got 6 entities under that committee. That is one of them that is very famous in South Africa. ESCOM is also one of our entities. The mandate of the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy is to provide oversight. The executive of the department, I'm repeating myself, the committee must ensure implementation of government policies with key policy recommendation exposed in the National Development Plan. Here in South Africa, there's something that we call a National Development Plan. We always abbreviate it by saying it is an NDP. That's another policy or something that we have to make a follow-up or make sure that we are in line with that one. With the portfolio of the DEE, that is Department ensures security and energy supply by diversifying an energy mix and increasing electricity generation capacity, and also improving energy efficiency and demand management. And also ensuring the maintenance and refurbishment of existing infrastructure, amongst others. There are also key areas of oversight from us as parliamentarians. 1 is reducing load shedding by adding capacity on the grid, restructuring of ESCOM to allow a greater competition and reduce electricity tariffs, developing the integrated energy plan and the integrated resource plan. Oversee the procurement of 2,500 megawatts nuclear power, 5, electrification of homes, 6, implementation of renewable energy, independent power producer procurement program. Additionally, the committee has oversight on the Just Energy Implementation Plan as it pertains to electricity, green hydrogen, new energy vehicle, and South African Renewable Energy Plan. Portfolios identify in plan as areas of priority. South Africa's long-term energy plans, I think that's another area that you requested to at least be given an information as how South Africa is doing that. Now, this plan is contained in the National Development Plan, as I have said before, of 2030. The NDP states that one of the enabling milestones South Africa needs is to produce sufficient energy to support industry at competitive prices, to ensuring access to poor households, 3, while reducing carbon emissions per unit of power by about 1/3. South Africa long-term energy plans are split between the integrated energy plan and integrated resource plan. Both plans are discussed below. I'm not going to get deep into the detail of it. I'm just highlighting that they are divided into those. Now, what is it, the integrated and energy plan? The development of National Integrated Plan was envisaged in the white paper on energy policy of the RSA of 1998. And in terms of the National Energy Act, the Minister of Energy is mandated to develop and on an annual basis review and publish the IEP in the Government Gazette. The purpose of the IEP is to provide a roadmap of future energy landscape for South Africa, which guides future the energy infrastructure investment and policy development. The development of the IEP is therefore a continuous process, as it needs to be reviewed periodically to consider changes in the microeconomic environment and also in developments in new technologies and changes in national priorities and imperatives. Among other factors, since change is ongoing, the plan must remain relevant. The department stated that it planned to have a draft IEP by the end of 2024-2025 financial year. That is the 31st March this year, 2025. Stakeholder engagement were planned for the end of the first quarter financial year, that's the end of June 2025. That's our financial year. The financial integrated energy plan was planned for the second quarter of the financial year. That is the end of September. The second quarter will end on that. IR plan, the one that I talked about, the IEP is an overarching energy policy. This means that following its finalization sector, specific plans which seeks to implement what is envisaged in the IEP must be developed. These plans include the integrated resource plan, the development of integrated resource promulgated by the Department of Energy on the 5th August 2009. Although the regulations refer to resource planning, it should be clear that this pertains specifically to electricity planning. The IRP is a process by which the South African investment needs in generation capacity are determined. It aims to provide an indication of the country's electricity demand. How this demand will be met and estimated the associated cost. The IRP was finalized, as I've said, 2019, with the current draft submitted for comment in 2024. The current draft of IRP 2023 was gazetted in January 2024 for the public comment. As I have already said, that when we have something new, we always do the public hearings and go and consult communities so that they can say something on that. The department is currently still processing the comments and revising the modeling to consider these comments in its annual performance plan for 2024 and 2025 financial year. The department states that IRP will be submitted to Cabinet for approval and implementation during the 2024 and 2025 financial year. As I have already said, that whatever that we think or that we get from the communities, we always take it back to the parliament so that they can take decision, because it's a higher structure that can take decision. With all those words, I wish to thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mvana, for your presentation. Before we go to Danish, I think it will be proper for us to finish our presentations so that we can give over to Danish, and then we'll be followed by the engagements. I will quickly and briefly zoom into our own presentation of forestry, fisheries, and environment. And I would also request to do my presentation seated down if I'm allowed. It's not out of disrespect. I would touch on the mandate of our portfolio committee, not repeating what Honorable Mvana has already said. Portfolio committee is a crucial link between public, parliament, and the DFFE, ensuring accountability while promoting sustainable environmental management. Its mandate covers several key areas, including oversight of government programs and budget reviews for the DFFE and its 6 entities. We also have 6 entities like electricity. We have our Isimangaliso wetland parks. We have South African Forestry Company Limited, which is SAFCOL. It recently was transferred to us. We also have Marine Living Resource Fund. We have South African National Biodiversity Institute. We also have South African National Parks and South African Weather Services. Those are the 6 entities that are under Department of Forestry, Fisheries, and Environment. As part of Parliament, the committee legislates on the environmental sectors, reviews treaties, and engages global in international parliamentary meetings to advance shared environmental interest while ensuring public input on sectoral topics and legislation considered. We'll also touch on the priorities for this 7th parliamentary term, the climate action. South Africa is committed to transitioning to a net zero and climate resilient future with deadlines set for 2050, implementing the Carbon Tax Act and the recently signed Climate Change Act will primarily enable this ambition by supporting climate adaptation, mitigation, and finance, and improving coordination of climate response among the 3 spheres of government. We have national, we have province, and we also have local. So we feel that by implementing this act, it will also enable the local government, because they are the first responders when we have disasters. So we feel that that will also give the local government sphere an opportunity to assist the communities. We believe there are areas where the Portfolio Committee can learn from the Danish Committee in overseeing the implementation of climate legislation, as South Africa is about to start implementing the Climate Change Act. South Africa prefers climate grants over loans to avoid the debt burden. Parliament is uncomfortable with the EU's loan-heavy energy transition support, which consists of 97% concessional loans and 3% of grants. So we, as South Africans, we are really not comfortable with the loans. We would really prefer that we be afforded grants. While agreeing on environmental protection and climate action, South Africa differs on the carbon border adjustment mechanism approach, particularly concerning its potential economic impact and the lack of acknowledgement of differentiated responsibilities in the Paris Agreement. Therefore, South Africa advocates for an exemption in the initial phase of CBAM while transitioning at an affordable and realistic pace. On the development of a circular economy, we believe that circular economy is a key driver of sustainable resource management, not just waste management. The committee will focus on ensuring the government maximizes secular opportunities within key sectors like tire waste, paper, plastic, agriculture, minerals, clothing, water, and human settlements. The circular economy presents opportunities to transform our economy while fostering environmental responsibilities. We also believe as the committee that we will oversee that biodiversity is used responsibly and sustainably, balancing conservation efforts with economic activities to prevent overexploitation and environmental degradation. Additionally, the government, in partnership with the private sector, should provide support, resources, and opportunities for emerging stakeholders, such as small-scale fisheries, foresters, and game and wildlife small businesses, helping them adopt sustainable practices, access markets, and contribute to biodiversity conservation while maintaining their livelihoods. In conclusion, honorable members from Denmark and South Africa, the committee's work will strive to achieve a just, affordable, and equitable balance between environmental protection, sustainable resource management, and inclusive economic development that considers both domestic needs and international commitments. Denmark's Environment Committee's experience could provide valuable lessons for us as we are about to start overseeing the implementation of the Climate Change Act. With those few inputs, thank you very much. We will share our presentation with you over the emails. Thank you very much. That is the presentation from the Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. Thank you, Honorable Mvana.
Thanks, Honorable Kancho. Now we are going to give over to you, Chairperson of the delegation.
Thank you so much. If it's okay with you, chairpersons, I would like to share the word with my ambassador, so she'll start and then I will follow up. Would that be okay? Thank you.
And now you look very worried that I'll be talking a lot, but I will not. Thank you so much, honorable chair ladies and honorable MPs for coming up in such a big number today to receive us. We are very happy and pleased with that. Thank you so much. I just want to say a few words to begin with about the partnership between Denmark and South Africa in general. So it's been strong and long-lasting. We supported the anti-apartheid struggle, and since then we have just been building our relations stronger and stronger. Our Prime Minister, your President, signed a strategic partnership back in 2022. Our Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, visited South Africa 2 years ago. The Foreign Minister visited 1 year ago, and we have many good engagements with our parliamentarians as well. We focus a lot on various sector cooperation, and the energy sector is very strong. The climate sector, as you already mentioned, the Honorable Chairwoman, thank you for mentioning that. Also in sustainable cities, in water, in agriculture. We also have, of course, Danish companies, Danish investors. Also, you are now chairing the G20, and congratulations with a great start. It's great to see those signs all over South Africa, and you have meetings all over South Africa. Denmark has actually been invited to participate in a few of them, and one is the two areas that you represent, the energy and also the climate and environment, because that's where Denmark has some expertise that we can share. And we will also soon be heading the EU presidency at the same time as you have the G20 presidency. So I think there's also scope for more collaboration there. Also just want to mention that we are now also in the UN Security Council, and we have a very good cooperation with DIRCO about security matters as well. But that's not one of the discussions today. So that's just a few bilateral issues I wanted to mention to begin with, and then pass it back to the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll stand up so you can see me, and speak loud so you can hear me, and I'll try to make it short so you'll still like me after the speech. Honorable MPs, honorable chairpersons. It's a great honorable colleagues. It's a great honor for us to meet with you. For many of us, it's our first time in South Africa and also first time here in Cape Town. We've only been here for a couple of hours, so it's a great starting meeting you. And thank you for the warm and friendly welcome from all of you. I believe we have a lot to talk about today and also forward, and we have a lot of work to be done, all of us, to make sure that all around the world we can make this green energy transition also will be a just energy transition. That is why we're here in South Africa this week. Our commission is to learn much more about South Africa, your climate policies, but also how to learn a lot more from you, how to make sure that it will be a just energy transition. So you'll take care of the environment, of the carbon footprint, but also, of course, the people. Make sure that you'll still protect the economy and make sure that there will be jobs so people can feed their families. Of course, all these things have to go hand in hand. So we know, I think it's obvious, there's a lot of things at stake here and a lot of hard work to be done. And we do understand that it takes time, and we also understand that there's a lot of things that have to be balanced. From a Danish experience, because 30 years ago, back in the 1990s, Denmark were very much dependent on fossil fuels. And so it has taken a lot of years, actually, a lot of hard work to make sure that we are now, almost all of our fuels are renewables, mostly windmill, offshore windmill, and also solar energy. I also believe that when we have been around in South Africa, especially solar energy, it's obvious that there are some great perspective in that also, I believe, but also in offshore windmill and other energy sources. Our experience from this process in Denmark is that right now we have much cleaner environment, much lesser carbon footprint. We have much cheaper energy. That's actually one of the more interesting things, that it's much, much cheaper, both than coal and oil, with solar and offshore wind energy. So our voters, our people back in Denmark, get cheaper energy right now. And also one of the things that I know that worried us back in the 19th and later on, and also is a huge topic in South Africa and the rest of the world who needs to make this energy transition just, is that what about all the people that are dependent in, for example, the coal industry? And what if all the people, will they lose their job? From the Danish perspective, our experience is that new jobs came, especially in the green energy sector. Actually, one of our city called Esbjerg, in Danish context, it's a big city. I think in South Africa it will probably be a smaller city, but Esbjerg was 30 years ago, was all of the people there were dependent on oil industry, especially. And the last couple of years, right now, Esbjerg is the most important city, I believe, in Denmark on offshore wind energy. So a lot of the people working in the oil industry with the right skills, the right education, and of course also social protection, we succeeded in making new jobs. And actually, for really a lot of people, much better jobs and better paid jobs. And I think the reason why we succeeded in that in Denmark was that we made sure to cooperate with, of course, the politicians all around not only the government, also the opposition politician parties, but also, maybe most important, with the labor unions, to make sure that with the labor unions and with the industry in Denmark, the employers, make sure that they have to sit in the same room, they have to agree, they have to find solutions that will be greener, that will have cheaper energy, and will make sure that the people who lose their job will get the right skills so they can have new jobs and together will create new opportunities. I think that was the most important lesson from the Danish energy transition through the last 30 years, that you have to be very, very sharp on making sure that it will be a just energy transition. And to make it just energy transition, I think that the labor unions can play a very important role in protecting these jobs and creating new jobs. Yesterday, the Commission visited BUSA Education Center outside Johannesburg, and we met with both employees from the industry in South Africa, and also we met with some of your unions, NUM and NUMSA and COSATO. Did I say it right? Okay, okay. So you have really also both strong and I think very competent industry and employers, but also very strong and competent trade unions. So I think that there's a great opportunities in making this energy transition just. And it was great experience to visit BUSA and see how much work is already done in South Africa to making sure that your young men and women, that they get the right skills so they can get out and get these jobs that will be demanded in the future. So thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion. And we really appreciate this energy partnership that we have between our countries. I think both Denmark and South Africa can really benefit from it. So we hope it will continue for many, many years as well. And of course, thank you for welcoming us. You're always welcome in the Danish Parliament. If you sometime will go there, we'll love to receive you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think we have another presentation from Danish. That one is on broad political agreements in shifting coalition governments based on the Danish political history. Ambassador, I'm not sure whether you'll be leading that one. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much. We have talked about it a little bit, and I think some of the other MPs from Denmark would like to come in, because they are the parties doing these political agreements. But I can maybe just say from the government side and maybe also from the industry side that it's important to have a pipeline and a tendency and a flow, so that you know what you are up against, to have some policy certainty. But that's just from the perspective from where I sit. But I think our parliamentarians have many more examples to share. So if we can just open the floor on this side, if that would be okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. That will be fine. I will just note hands for those who would like to speak. Okay, let me start from the front row. I don't see the name, but yeah, I'll start with you, sir, then followed by the two ladies at the back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Kim Valentin, and I'm also a spokesperson on the labor market in Denmark, which is very important, as I can hear. It also is in South Africa. I think one of the things that make Danish politics a little special is that we very many times have made compromises, not only in the government, as now we are majority government, but also between the opposition and the government. And when we do it, we make it as settlements. And it has a special meaning in Denmark that when you make a settlement between a lot of parties, it's not able to break this settlement before you say I want to make a new settlement after the new election. So you have to have a new election before you make a new negotiation about these areas you have made a compromise on. That means a lot to the politician, but it means even more to the companies and the labor unions and the privates making investments in their own wealth or in their companies, because they can depend on that the policies are not changing every time the government is changing. So they have a longer period of making investments, making sure that the plans they actually have done, for instance in energy or in climate investments, they are not changed by new regulation from the government. And I think that's a very important conclusion, that we make these kind of settlements over between the government, but also between all the other parties. So when a new government is coming, they will not change the law. Perhaps they will say, we would like to negotiate again. And there will be a negotiation, but the change will first happen after a new election. Sometimes that means they will go 6 to 8 years before changes are done in settlements. And that's very important to the future, when you take your own money out of your pocket and make investments in all kind of ways. And especially when you are trying to create new jobs. That's important for South Africa, that's very important for Denmark, that when we create new jobs, the jobs will stay there. It's very important, I think, for both countries. I will stop now, but thank you for letting me explain that.
Thank you very much, sir. We will move to Leila. She'll be followed by Leah, if I've captured the names correctly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak now. Congratulations to South Africa for the new Climate Act. That's an important achievement, I think. When we made a broad coalition of parties, almost all of parties in Parliament made the Danish climate law in 2020. One of the first sentences was that Denmark has a historical and moral responsibility to act and be among the most ambitious countries. Not because we are to tell other countries what to do, but because we are acting from a very privileged position as a country who has had years to industrialize, who's contributed a lot to the global climate change, of course. So it's important for us to take on a responsibility for the global crisis. That's important for me to stress also because it's something that is important, I think, when we come and visit South Africa, because we might be able to do comparisons, but there are, of course, also differences. But we agree on that in Parliament very broadly, that we have a historic and moral responsibility. And it's also been key for all of us parties that the green transition should be just. That green transition is not just about clean environment or about reaching the Paris Agreement. It's also about expanding our welfare state, make sure that we don't marginalize people who are already left behind because of social issues, other issues, people who are not necessarily living in the big cities in Denmark, that we have everyone on board. Why? Even though we have the Climate Act, it's still important that we involve all stakeholders in society, mayors, city councils, when we do our policy, that we have broad involvement and we ensure that there's a broad public backing for our decisions when we take them in Parliament, so we move together when we move. And we still have challenges ahead. We are still struggling with phasing out oil from our energy mix as well. We have oil production in Denmark, not a lot, and we set a date for the outphase. It's just to say we also have things we still need to deal with. But we have agreed for now that we've set a date for the outphase of oil, which is a big step forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. Over to you, Leah.
Yes, thank you for your presentations. It's really interesting to hear about your political work. And just to give my perspective on the Danish learnings so far, I mean, we made a very ambitious climate act in 2020. It set a 70% reduction target by 2030. And at the time when we did the political agreement, even our independent climate council could not tell us a way to move that fast and that ambitious in such a short period of time. So it was a vision for the Danish society, and we decided that in order to implement such a strong vision, we really needed to scrutinize every sector. So we went sector for sector, and not only did we do the political agreements broadly. I mean, I come from the Social Democratic Party, which is the biggest party in parliament, but we have a long tradition of working together, and I think it was also stressed that it gives these stable environments for the businesses, but also for the workers to rely on the political decisions taken by the government. So we asked each sector to come with recommendations for us as politicians, so what we should do, but also what they had to do themselves. And so we had broad public debates on each sector, and Denmark is a very big agricultural country, so around 70% of our land is being cultivated for agriculture, and we knew that if we did not make a green transition on the agricultural sector, we would not make the target. So this was the last sector that we were able to agree on because it was so difficult. We succeeded in now introducing a carbon tax on the agricultural sector, but in a way that is led by the guiding principles in the Climate Act, which is also stating that we want to create jobs. And so we went to Mpumalanga yesterday. It was a really interesting visit for us, and I couldn't not think about the parallel in such a region, very based on the coal, also linking it to our agricultural production and how to phase in political decisions broadly based in the society in order to make such a transition. So the last review from our Independent Climate Council, and we also met with the PCC in Pretoria, they said that we are going to reach the target if we implement the policies that we have already agreed on. So for Denmark, that's actually quite a great task to have done, and with such a broad political agreement, but also from the public. So, I mean, there's around, I think, top 3 political issues in Denmark. The green transition is one of them. And I think what we have been very focused on is the just transition in it. So just to state that the whole employment focus that we also met yesterday in Mpumalanga with the unions and with the businesses is so important, and it's really inspiring to learn about how you're working with it, and I hope that we can continue our cooperation and share our lessons learned in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. I saw the hand of Miti. Miti, over to you.
Thank you. I can just follow up on what both Rasmus, the chairperson, and also Leila and Leah has been speaking about, but maybe from a more, business point of view, since as I said, introducing myself, I'm spokesperson on business, trade, and innovation. In Denmark, since the 90s, I would think that more and more Danish companies have realized that license to operate in an international-based world is that you actually walk the talk when it comes to sustainability. Not only within the green energy area or environmental area, but also definitely within the social area. That means that have the right payment, the right working conditions for employees, and so on and so forth. And it has become more or less a rule of the market in order to be able to attract talent, not just today, but also in the future, to attract investments so that businesses can continue growing, maintaining their business, and also be a player of tomorrow's enterprises and businesses. And I'm really curious about how you honorable MPs in the South African Parliament are working with these issues, because to us it is not just, we don't have an end position, we are becoming wiser every day. That's also why it is such a pleasure being here, exchanging opinions, listening to you, and we've already been spending 2 days and been engaging in many, many fruitful discussions and dialogues. But the fact is that industry needs long-term security on a country's vision and strategy in the energy sector in order to make sound business solutions, in order actually also to plan ahead, not just for the next quarter, even though that many businesses are driven by a quarterly based economy, they have to have a long focus as well. And I know that you are like 18 different parties within the South African Parliament. We are 13 in the Danish. I know, coming from such a surrounding of different political point of views, it can be difficult to actually reach an agreement. But we keep having the dialogue because we really want that in order to move forward and in order to move the country forward. So how do you, from a political side, ensure a long-term energy planning with so many opinions present in your parliament? I'm looking so much forward to learn from you. How do you deal with it? Because we're eager to learn and to listen in order to bring it home with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. We are now going to shift and take hands from this side, from the members. I've noted the hand of Honourable Fasia, Honourable Paulsen, Honourable Managa, and Honourable Tring, followed by Honourable Mailam. Yes. And lastly will be Honourable Nalomango. Those are the few hands. I hope you have noted your numbers. Honourable Fasia, you can also respond to some of the questions that were raised by the honourable members. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chair. We're just making notes through a number of those presentations. I think in a very similar way, through in the ambassador and the leader of the delegation, we would also appreciate some written documentation as well around some of the work that you're doing, because it's quite fascinating. I mean, one thing I made a big note on is just before we met you, we were with the electricity or energy regulator, which is an independent body in South Africa, and they have recently announced electricity tariffs which are extremely high. And it's obviously having a major impact on the working class, on the middle class. And we just this morning were discussing some creative ways about what we need to do to help bring down the input cost of energy. So that would be fascinating for us to understand in here, especially because in South Africa there is a lot going on between the coal-based, which is our base load of energy, and of course renewables. And I think one of the things we are trying to do in answering some of your points is actually strike that balance and not put up both of those things against each other. I think it was last week or the week before in the Minerals Portfolio Committee, we were in Mpumalanga, much where you guys were at this week as well. And you're very right, there's no place in the country where it's more stuck. And one of the things that we're really trying to do on a policy level is, like I said, not put them up against each other, but also carefully and cleverly leverage off different grants that we have. For example, the EU has been very involved in that. Just a few weeks ago, we were discussing green hydrogen, the CBAMs, etc., etc. So we're looking at a number of different points in which we can push renewable energy, but at the same time ensure that we don't give up on our base load, which is coal. And then, Chair, just before I monopolize the space, I was very lucky to be deployed to a delegation in 20 I think it was also 2022 or 2023, to Denmark on the coalition study tour with different political parties. And maybe you can share with us a little bit about that work, because I know there's some discussion around a threshold, also that no one has to register to vote in Denmark. Maybe you can take us through some of that. But it's just interesting to see, because we are in a government of national unity, and it would be very interesting to hear some, or even get some documentation about some of your coalition agreements and other forms that have proven to bear some stability and to bear fruit, especially when it comes to budget drafting, because that is currently what is preoccupying us in the GNU. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Fassi. Honorable Paulsen.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you for your presentations. So Denmark's, you are leaders in transition to renewables. Currently, wind makes up 47% of your energy needs. Your population is around 6 million, ours is 61 million. Your unemployment is less than 3%, ours is 32%. So what I want to know, how did you, your unemployment remains stable with your transition. Ours, we close all our power stations, coal-powered stations, and obviously you've still got coal-powered stations. If we close our coal-powered stations, we'll be increasing our unemployment rate immediately. That's if we have to do what we did at Komati Poort, where we just switched off a coal power station, which was doing very well and functioning very well. For some foolish reason, we switched it off. And we put a lot of people out of work. So what do you think we should be doing in terms of mitigating increasing unemployment? And I think about the question that the last speaker asked is, I mean, you are 6 million people, you are 13 parties represented. We are 61 million people, we are 18. You should tell us, how do you navigate those differences amongst yourselves? You know, you should be telling us, what lessons have you learned, how do you do it, right? I mean, it's, we can, I think, you know, our politics in this country is very diverse. I mean, you've got the far right, I represent the other extreme. And then you've got some in the center, and somewhere, and others are somewhere in between. Others don't know where they are really, they'll just go where the wind blows. They're not here, by the way. So you should be able to tell us, right? When you've got social democrats, and I've heard there's what sounded very right-wing to me. How do you navigate your political differences? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Paulsen. Honorable Managa.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chairpersons. I'll just add on what Honorable Paulsen has just said. With the closed fire stations, we have visited Komati, I think all of us here in this room. I want to understand with the Denmark, what are you doing with the infrastructure or with the plants that you have closed? Because apparently, Tina, I think we are frustrated. Because we are sitting with the infrastructures, we don't even know what to do. You go to Komati, that thing is gonna rust in few years to come. Yes, the other thing that I would like from the Danish is for them to share with us the best practices. What is it that they are doing that Tina, as the country, we are not doing it correctly? Because we are having a lot of load shedding as we speak. So with you, they saying maybe you can only have 20 minutes maybe in the whole year of load shedding. Tina, we can stay the whole day without electricity. So what is it that you are doing right that we as South Africa, we are failing to do? Please share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Wananga. Honorable Tring.
Thank you, Chair. I think that the Komati Port experience has been a very bad one for South Africa, and admittedly, I think even within the Portfolio Committee of Energy and Electricity, it has been admitted by the Minister that it should not have happened because it happened at the height of load shedding in South Africa. But I think to a large extent it was done because of South Africa's commitments to its international partners with regards to climate change mitigation. Despite the fact that South Africa has, as my colleague has indicated, some of the highest unemployment levels in the world. On the expanded definition of unemployment, we're sitting at over 40% unemployed. We have some of the highest poverty levels in the world. People in South Africa, some 25% of our population, of our 60 million, are considered to be living below the poverty line. We have one of the highest Gini coefficients, in fact, the highest Gini coefficient in the world, Gini coefficient of some 0.67 or so. So we have all of these challenges. When a European delegation was challenged on the CBAM developments, South Africa has all of these challenges. However, our coal exports to Europe increased around about 2022 by some 600%. And our coal was taken by Europe and used by Europe. But we had to close down our coal-fired power station, causing immense challenge within our communities. And so the duplicity or the hypocrisy represents a challenge. I think that when it comes to, just a question then to my counterparts from Denmark. I noticed that of your 8 thermal power stations, 6 of those 8 thermal power stations use biomass. 6 of the 8. What is biomass? Wood chips, plant-based material that when it's burnt produces CO2. And yet pressure has been placed on South Africa not to use coal and to close down its coal-fired power stations. Bearing in mind that Africa as a whole contributes not even 4% of greenhouse. Africa as a whole, our 50-odd countries on the continent, contribute not even 4% of greenhouse gas emissions. And there's this huge pressure being placed on the African continent to conform, where I think it was admitted that Europe as a whole, together with the developed nations, are the major contributors of greenhouse gas emissions and should be bearing the cost, not Africa. But pressure is being placed on the African countries to pay for what to a large extent the developed and the first world has caused. So your response to that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Tring. Honorable Mailam.
Thank you, Chairperson. So I think one of your delegation correctly identified the fact that we have a very diverse array of political viewpoints in the South African Parliament. We have 18 political parties represented, 10 of them forming the Government of National Unity. But even within the Government of National Unity, there are very divergent opinions as to where we should go in terms of policy. So it was really interesting to hear the need for a policy pipeline that can be followed even after a change of government. We don't have that level yet of cooperation or compromise. It's still very much winner takes all. So we're negotiating this new political landscape of coalitions, and it's a tricky landscape. There are things that we absolutely don't agree on. There are things that we do agree on. But the challenge that we've got is this broad spectrum of ideology coupled with enormous amounts of misinformation. And I think in that regard, a lot of that misinformation is coming from America. It's coming from Russia. I have to say this. Please excuse me, Chair. I am in awe of your Prime Minister for what she said at the London summit over the weekend. But be that as it may, the misinformation around climate change and around energy production and around fossil fuels that is coming out of various sectors is being picked up locally and reposted, retweeted, redistributed, and then taken as gospel truth. And I think as the world, we need to take a stand and push for evidence-based policy making. We need to push for truth in reporting. We really need to clamp down on this overwhelming amount of misinformation. And I think this is something that really more countries need to come together on and say, enough. We're not going to propagandize or weaponize information. We are going to use it in a way where we look at the science and say, what does science do? And to that point, different fuels obviously have different effects and generate different amounts of greenhouse gas or different amounts of carbon or whatever it might be. We need as a country, we need as a world to look at how we best get to that net zero point. I saw an article this last week that the largest iceberg in the world has broken away from Antarctica and landed up on the shores of South Georgia Island in the Falklands. It is an iceberg the size of Greater London. Now, when that thing melts, it's going to have an impact on the sea levels. It's going to have an impact on global temperatures. And we seem to be ignoring this and saying, oh, well, we can carry on as normal. So I really want to say, I support these dialogues. I support the sharing of best practices. I really think that we can do more together than apart. And so I'm really looking to Denmark to say, hey, this is how we did it. How can we help you, or how can it assist, and how can it work for you? Thank you, Chair.
Melo? Okay. I think the mistake that we did was not putting time. We have allowed members to, to engage and not set time. Honorable Nalumango, because I know that the Danish delegation had to leave, and yeah, can we just be brief and be precise?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to speak on the topic I think that they have most interest in, and that is how we are currently functioning in the GNU setup. As you would term it more coalition, you term it as a coalition, but with us it's a number of parties, smaller parties that have come together with the ANC within Parliament and have then formed, as we term it, the government of national unity. It was an agreement that was struck between those smaller parties. As you state, we can not, as Kim have said, Kim, I think, focus more on the settlements, and that is exactly, I think, what is happening currently in government, where there have to be agreements on certain things, certain policies, before we pass them through Parliament, and that everyone, feels comfortable in terms of those policies. And then when there is that agreement, we've seen some of the policies that, we've said that, oh, some of the people in the GNU will not support some of those policies, but it has gone through. The Bella Bill has gone through. That was one of the policies that everyone thought that, no, it was going to create, sort of strife within the GNU, but it has not. In fact, it has united the GNU further, and it showed us that, you can have a lot of divergent views, but when you have, your principle that you're standing on, because there were basic priorities that everyone in the GNU, they come together, they sit around the table, and there's basic priorities, and if everyone stick to the basic priorities and the basic principles, that we say that, the rule of law is sacrosanct as well as our constitution, and that we agree on our people first, alleviating poverty, creating more jobs, especially sustainable jobs, as you've mentioned, and if all of us agree in terms of the priorities that were set out in this, the GNU, as we term it, then, we will be able to prosper as a country. I'll put the word prosper, because prospering is also one of our basics that we always have. But what we are saying is that it's not easy. It's the beginning. We've never had that before. We've had a majority party in Parliament. It's a touch and go for us as well. But where you have these agreements in place, and you've seen it happening before, where you have the agreements in place, they find each other. We do have a cabinet, so we are what we call in the main here backbenchers, but you do have our cabinet there that does all of your main decisions, and we have our partners that is there. They do have the agreements that is there, and then when they are coming through to Parliament, we'll see that everyone supports what we have agreed on, which is our settlements. If you agree on the settlements stand as Kim was referring to it. And thank you, Chair. Let me just stop there.
Thank you, Honorable Nalumango. Honorable Ambassador, I'm going to give over to you, and just a few members would like to respond to some of the inputs or questions that were raised by South African delegation. It was mostly comments, but it was just few questions. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for both your questions and comments on what I and my colleague said about how we are driving the green transition on the energy platform in Denmark. Let me just briefly see if I can answer some of your questions. And I'm completely aware of that Europe, Denmark, the Western world has been polluting heavily. And so I'm completely aware of that. And we apologize for that. We're trying to make it better now by, having this green transition both in our country and also in other European countries in order not to keep on going down that path. Some of you asked if we could mention some best practices. I believe it was the lady from the Economic Freedom Fighters, right? Yes. There's one that I would like to mention and bring to the floor, and that is district heating. District heating is one of the most renewable energy forms, and it covers 2 out of 3 households in Denmark. It is cheap, and it is renewable. So, and of course, it takes a long time to cover such a great area geographically as South Africa, but you have to start somewhere. In Copenhagen, where I live, and where my constituency is, 95% of all the households are heated by district heating. And then there was a gentleman saying something about the 8 energy plants in Denmark. I happen to be a chairperson of one of them recently. I just stepped back. It is the largest power plant in Denmark, and it's located in Copenhagen. And yes, it's true, we use biomass to fuel the ovens. It's wood, it's food waste, it's agriculture residues, it's biofuels. It is by far also the most renewable alternative to fossil fuels and to coal. And that is the power plant that is providing the households with heat, with energy, electricity. So when we had the inflation just 2 years ago, the households that were heated with district heating did not even feel that there was any raise in the energy bill. So it has a very heavily social incentive also to work on that area. And I think that was it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chair, do you want to say something?
Yeah, we're almost out of time. Thank you for many good and important comments and also many questions. I think after this meeting we can wrap up our experience from the Danish perspective, and then we can share it with you, and then you are mostly welcome to contact our committee or contact the embassy if we want to expand on any of it. So we can share it with you and your colleagues afterwards, of course. I think it's very important that you do things at the right time, and when you make this huge transition, you have to do a lot of things at the same time. So it's a huge challenge. We're very much aware of that, and hopefully we can learn from each other, both what different countries did right, but maybe more important, some of the mistakes that for example we have made that other countries don't have to make the same mistakes. So hopefully we can keep in contact afterwards. I think to Honourable Mr. Tring said that there's a pressure from Europe that you should make this green energy transition. I believe there's a pressure on all of us, also on South Africa, yes. I don't believe that is why you should make the energy transition. I believe that the reason why you should make the energy transition is to protect your water, protect your air from pollution, make sure that your citizens will have enough energy in the future and will have enough cheap energy in the future, and also because of the climate, because if we don't do this together, solve the climate crisis, it will hurt every one of us. But the hard fact is also that this always, with these kind of crises, it will always hurt the poor people the most. That's also the hard fact. So if we want to protect all of us, but especially also protect people that don't have a lot of possibilities and a lot of money, we have to do this together and do it the right way. It's not easy. It's a very hard job, but I believe we have competent people to do it, and all we can do to share exchanges, we would love to do afterwards. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We'll just move for remarks, Honorable Ambassador. Just few remarks from you before I give over to my co-chairperson to do the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also, just a few comments to some of the questions, and thank you so much for the good questions and the comments and valuable insights. As our Prime Minister also said to President Ramaphosa, yes, as you said, Mette, yes, the rich world have been polluting a lot, and now it's hurting the poor countries the most, and we do feel guilty. We want to do something about it. That's also why we are now sharing our experience of a green transition with many big countries in the world that are still polluting very much. So we have a good cooperation here with the University of Cape Town, with the DMRE, IPP office, NERSA, and ESCOM, where we also talk about like how to balance the grid and all that. In Denmark, it's opposite. We don't use coal as a base load. We use first solar and wind because it's cheaper. And then when there's not enough solar or wind or hydro from Norway, we can use the coal. And yes, we have imported some coal from South Africa, very good quality. We did it a few years ago. Mostly we peaked because we had an energy crisis in Europe because Russia attacked Ukraine and shut off the gas supplies to Europe, and we were afraid of our energy security. We wanted to have even more renewable energy very fast, but it wasn't fast enough, and we were afraid of losing electricity, so we imported more coal, and I think the import is decreasing again now. So that was the reason, but just to say also that we know that energy security is so important, and I also experienced the load shedding in South Africa. But you can actually turn the system around and use coal for later, then use the solar and wind first. That's quite smart. It's also a little bit complicated, but some of these technical guys from Denmark are assisting in that. And then just a comment also on Komati. I think that's not a very good example for South Africa. That was shot in a wrong way and too fast, and many jobs were lost. And I think now many good people in South Africa are working on doing it in another way next time. The decision to close Komati was taken before some of the international countries became a part of the Just Energy Transition Partnership that South Africa launched in Glasgow for the COP. So the decision to shut down Komati was not an international decision. Denmark has joined the Just Energy Transition Partnership after our Prime Minister visited, and we are very active, for instance, in the Mpumalanga region to look for other ways of finding jobs. We have this labor market consortium engagement and all that. We also have some investors looking at renewable energy also in Mpumalanga and other areas. But we do understand that one of you also mentioned that you cannot compare the situation. We basically don't have unemployment in Denmark, and you have so much of it. So we do understand that jobs is such an important concern for you. But we are a constructive partner, and we are here for the long term, so please reach out. One last comment. There was a coalitions study tour taking place in Denmark where political parties from South Africa joined and met with our political parties in Denmark and had a very good and constructive engagement. You would know that much better than me. I wasn't here. But talking about GNU and coalitions, we have one in Denmark and you have one here now. We would be very eager to engage more on that as well in the future, also at municipal level. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Mamvana, I'm going to hand over to you to do closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. On behalf of parliamentarians, I would like to
Thank you, Honorable Mvana. Thank you very much, honorable members, and you've already been thanked by my co-chairperson. Thank you very much. Travel well, and I hope you are enjoying South Africa. Thank you very much, South African delegation, and also our support staff, our A-team. We call them A-team in my portfolio committee. Thank you very much. Travel safe. You can have refreshments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you again. Yes. Bye.
Honorable members, they are asking a photo of all of us. Quickly grab something on our way to the front of NCOP.